Thanks for hanging around to hear the Wiluna story. You make me sound very old, actually, with all that. But anyway, so let me tell you about Wiluna and where we've got to. So in its current look, we started this journey about 8 months ago, and I'll just report to you today where we're at. What I'll do is focus on the geology, having just give you a bit of background as to how we're going with our cash flow and development of the mine. Essentially, the geological work that's been done over the last 6 months has been outstanding. There's a huge database and drill diamond core that we're re-assaying and looking at. There's a lot of work that we're doing. So the geological team, led by Kane Fogarty, who's in here at the moment, Peter Johansson, Travis Craig, and then support guys being Brett Jones, who's here. In fact, one of his slides is up here at the moment. John Streeter, Kane Hutchison, John Morgan should be congratulated for an immense body of work that's actually given us a path to realising the full potential of this magnificent goldfield. So we're an operating company, but having said that, our main focus now is the development of a very large mine at Wiluna, with a substantial amount of reserve definition, resource definition, and under headframe exploration work. And that's supported by, I'll talk a bit later, 3 underground rigs and 4 surface rigs that we're turning at the moment. We have cash flow currently that's supported by stockpiles of high-grade ore of about 1.2 million tonnes, small underground mine supporting that with some high-grade material, hedging that's in place at 2,680 Aussie for the next 6 to 9 months, and a process plant where we've optimised the recoveries and stabilised the operating environment. So we're generating $4 to $5 million of cash a month at the moment from our operating activities, and we are a profitable mining company as an operation. That cash flow will continue to stabilise and improve as we develop the mine and lead to a longer dated reserve as well as we continue with this work. We have a very clear 3-year development plan for the asset. Beyond that, the scale of Wiluna and its geological potential, including the resource base we sit on, is going to need a lot more work to fully unlock and determine the large scale of this operation and where it goes to beyond the next stage of development. The market cap of the company is about 150 million, total enterprise value of about 175, probably a little bit of debt and about $15 million of cash at the moment. We are also, like many others here in the room, supported by a very supportive German group of shareholders being led by Thomas Zuers. In fact, they own 36% of the company. They came in behind us in the last 18 months, and particularly in April last year, to unlock the vision, fix the balance sheet, and really we put to work drill rigs and a plan that we put in front of them that's been matched by the right people on the ground. And that's really rewarded them in spades, on the ground at least. We've through that 90,000 metres of drilling in the last 6 months, we've really given a clear path to realisation at Wiluna, which I'll talk about. So right now, we've just, as I just mentioned, I think that's right. So we just finished mining this pit. That's the ore that's sitting on our stockpiles. There's a lot of it up at the process plant. The rest will be trucked up to the process plant over the next 6 months, and that'll support our current CIL plant, which has a capacity of somewhere between 1.5 and 2.5 million tonnes, depends on the hardness of the material that we feed there. We are in the process of essentially building a very large-scale underground mine. I'll talk about that in a minute. Obviously, I won't focus too much on that because what I really want to talk to you about is the discovery side, because the exploration conference is about exploration and discovery and where we produce that new gold, and we have a number of extensional under headframe and regional opportunities because we sit on a very large piece of ground in the northern goldfields of WA, which has, in the last 30 years, had many ownerships and a lack of systematic investment and geological work to actually unlock the value. And I would just let you look at our tenement holding relative to Leonora, Laverton, Kalgoorlie, and the number of owners and people trying to fight over ground and structural domains and geology, we have that in one location under our own ownership in the Northern Goldfields. So we sit on currently about 8 million ounces of indicated and inferred resource. If we take that back down to a high-grade cutoff of 2.5 grams, we've converted about 4.2 million ounces of that into a high-grade envelope of 4.2 million ounces at about 4.9 grams gold. The majority of this is refractory, so it requires a different treatment route when we've got that in construction now, and I'll talk to you about that in a sec. Outside of this envelope, which we're now trying to convert into detailed mine plan, while we're building the mine, the reason we're building the mine, the ventilation, the infrastructure, the development needs to happen so we can actually go down and drill out a very detailed 5 to 8 year mine plan, which we're doing right now inside this envelope of mineralisation that we already understand. And our exploration target at Wiluna alone is 5 to 7 million ounces of gold. We didn't put that out there lightly. The average grade of virgin ground that was mined at Wiluna across the system that I'll show you was 6 to 8 grams. And we are talking about actually having very clear evidence from geophysics now, which is being improved, drilling and structural interpretation of continued extensions of these zones, both laterally and vertically and in parallel structures in a sort of 5 kilometre footprint that we're working on. Beyond that, we actually sit on significant other centres which are within 20 to 30 kilometres radius, which have similar scale potential once fully drilled over the next 10 years. And we certainly won't be drilling all of these at the scale we need to, at the rate we need to in the next 2 years. So Wiluna is a great mining centre. It was one of the Claude de Banal's ventures, and it was a company that basically produced a lot of gold, 1.5 million ounces back in the 30s. It then restarted when CIL was invented. Unfortunately, the last 30 years, while we've had focus in some of these mines in Australia and WA in particular in the recent gold rush, this mine has had short-term ownership, and it hasn't had a systematic approach to looking at the geology from a zero base, drilling it out fully and coming up with a plan. We're doing that now. And as I said, we're doing that off the back of a profitable operation that we've turned around in the last 6 months. The existing infrastructure at Wiluna is substantial. We have lots of underground development, we have our own power, we have our own water, we have our own gas lateral, we have camp there, and we have a substantial amount of other supporting infrastructure. The drilling library alone is massive. It's 1,500 kilometres of diamond drilling, 3 million metres of RC drilling in our database that we're still mining. That database mining is actually producing fantastic results. We've been recutting core through the main system at Wiluna that's producing ounce intersections that people have decided in the past that it wasn't worth cutting and sampling because they had a view of what they were looking at that time, which is not actually quite correct. So the thing that we're trying to do now is just really focus our geology on the reserves that we need in the next 8 months to publish a fairly substantial financial model and finish up feasibility. All the technical work for the feasibility work has been done. The main focus now is to try to get another 500,000 ounces of high-grade reserves in the immediate mine plan, which will be done hopefully by September, and we'll finish then and publish a feasibility for a 1.5 million tonne underground operation that will end up producing around 250,000 ounces of gold within a 2.5 year time frame, 2 to 3 years. As I said, the mine development for that has already started. What we need to do there now is follow up with surface infrastructure. Half that infrastructure for processing concentrates has already started. We've started construction of that now. The first part of that will be commissioned in October this year. So in terms of scale, we've heard today about a lot of new discoveries and geological opportunities. Wiluna rivals any of the large gold systems in WA and in Australia. That is to scale. That's De Grey, Bellevue, Fosterville, Jundee. You can compare them to any others. The thing with Wiluna, it has a continuous system over 3.5 kilometres already. It's only been partially exploited in some places down to 600 metres, and it's got a very, very large footprint. The minimum mining width on our main system will be 4 metres, up to 30 metres wide. So our rate of vertical advance compared to our competitors will be lower. Clearly, we have to allocate a higher grade to our work because we lose about 1 gram to process refractory ore versus having a free milling circuit operating only, which we obviously allow for in our economics as we go. We have sold our first 3 years of concentrates as we're ramping up to our full scale to a company called Polymetal, Russia, who are building a very large POX plant over on the east coast of Russia, and also 30% to Trafigura. Those terms are set, and they are fully, all the commercial arrangements are agreed there. So this is some of the stunning results we've published. We haven't really had much reaction to this in the last 6 months, but we'll continue to produce these. We currently have 3 drill rigs drilling underground in here, and we've got 4 on the surface drilling down here and in this gap, which is proving to be quite... So when we say that everything's been found, there's been 100 years of mining in this thing. This gap here in the middle, we've found 2 or 3 virgin high-grade shoots that have never been touched or mined before or drilled, for that matter, inside a known mining area that's 3.5 kilometres long. And they're proving to be high grade, and we're trying to get the extensions drilled to fill those gaps. Beyond that, I'll show you some other work that we're doing. We're really looking at parallel structures, extensional drilling to the south and the north, and then we'll start looking at the next blocks, which all have structural evidence and drilling to suggest the same ore body here. This was a very large ore body, 1.5 million ounces mined down to 600 metres. That continues. We know that. We just need to start do some drilling on that. Our immediate focus is in the north because that's the mining front. We're watering that now. We'll develop this first, develop through here, and then the whole mine will be developed down to about 600 metres over the next 5 years to systematically mine the whole of the Wiluna structure at that 2.5 gram cutoff that I was talking about. Having said that, though, we have reported intersections across this structure, either that we re-assayed from other people, that we've drilled recently of over 100 metres at 1.5 to 2.5 grams. So the whole shear zone here between the west and east structure is mineralised. And we haven't really started focusing on what that looks like in terms of economics and what we do about that. We'll do that work once we execute this first stage of development of the mine. So this is some recent work. Brett Innes is here in the office. He's done that sort of structural interp. I've got to try and do justice to this, but this is really telling us the lithological structural intersections that lead to pooling and development of high-grade shoots inside this mineralised envelope. And then on top of that, there's some structural areas that are starting to point to where we go to extend our best high-grade zones as we're understanding the full system. On top of that, we've just recently completed a seismic survey that's about 6 kilometres long. The previous section I showed you about in the mine is only that bit there. This is being processed at the moment. We'll overlay that onto the structural work, and we should have some fairly exciting extensional and deeper targets to go with. We'll know in April exactly how that looks and what it leads to, and we'll do some proof of concept testing on that, and then go into a 3D survey of the full block, which will give us, I think, some pretty interesting next areas to drill. The beauty about Wiluna is we don't have to just drill them at depth. We've got plates to drill in parallel and along strike as well to continue to expand. So our target of another 5 to 7 million ounces of high-grade gold here is very modest. I'm not concerned about meeting that. It's a question of time and money and systematic application of geology and drilling to produce that. It will produce it, and we will definitely have some good news to show our shareholders. Hang on. Okay, I won't go through this. It's just our geologist's work showing the target generation, the drill testing, and this is a combination of virgin work as well as resource definition and resource conversion work that we're doing in the company. Just a quick one there. That's Wiluna. We have another Wiluna down here from a geophysical and geological work. That'll get some work. That has the same scale as what we've got up here at the moment geologically. So that'll be done in the next sort of 3 years. We don't need it for the immediate plans. However, we will do some work on that over the next 2 years to demonstrate the repeatability of these structures on this main trend as we go forward. This is a picture I like. We've got the Perseverance Fault, which is obviously the main mineralising fault in the goldfields. We've got, as I said, major regional structures and centres beyond Wiluna that will produce, in our view, similar outcomes as we drill these things. This one's Monza granite that we've just mined. I've just talked about it. It's 30 to 40 metres wide. It's going 1.4 grams. It's not refractory. And that's the stuff that's going through the mill at the moment. And we've only mined and drilled a very small portion of that so far. So, in summary, we're a producing company that's profitable. We're developing a very significant mine. The mine development will take about 2.5 years. We expect to have the mine development finished in the financial year 2024. We'll have the infrastructure that supports that finished at the same time. When we get to that point, we will have a 1.5 million tonne per annum sulphide circuit running in parallel with a 2 million tonne per annum free milling circuit and a tailings retreatment plant, which means anything that we decide to mine from a commercial perspective, Wiluna will have a place in the process plant. And we won't have to leave stuff behind while we're trying to optimise our mining operations in this goldfield in the future. And that'll be in commercial production by the second half of the financial year 2024. So thank you very much and enjoy the rest of your conference.